thank you. Thank you for giving me this opportunity to chair the session. Thank you, Dr. Jyoti Dev. And I think Banshi's introduction is not so much required to the people because he is a very famous man. But for a customary, I am saying that he is Director of Diabetes and Diabetes Care and Hormone Clinic, Ahmedabad, Gujarat.
चलेगा It's okay.
It's okay. Executive Secretary at Diabetes India, Joint Secretary RSSDI, Congress Chairman of Just. We have experienced a wonderful Diabetes India Congress at Chennai 2015. He has got a fellowship from the American College of Endocrinology and the International College of Nutrition, Canada. Presented numerous scientific papers at national international conferences and in peer-reviewed journals. He is a member of editorial board of several peer-reviewed journals. I think much more is there, but I would not like to be in between you and Banshi. So a wonderful talk so that we can have a wonderful dreams in the night to avoid the sleep apnea in diabetes.
Thank you. First of all, thanks Anuj for introduction. Thanking Jyoti, it's a very close friend of mine, for inviting me here for this talk. I'm going to talk about diabetes and obstructive sleep apnea. When one laugh, world laugh with him. But when someone snore, he sleep alone only. This is the fact. See, this important slide which shows that we all understand that nutrition and fitness is very, very important. But at the same time, a good sleep is very, very important too. So, if you just take a health in a the three parts, the nutrition and fitness and a good sleep, which is very, very important to have somebody is a normal sleep. My objective will be, I will be talking in next 20 minutes about the background of the obstructive sleep apnea, the effect of obstructive sleep apnea on health and metabolic effects. Obesity is a risk factor for obstructive sleep apnea. It's linked to diabetes and metabolic syndrome, diabetes and its detection and treatment for obstructive sleep apnea, and then I will conclude this. As we know that obstructive sleep apnea is a breathing disorder. During sleep, the airway is mechanically obstructed, causing a cessation of breathing that is known as obstructive sleep apnea. And apnea occurs when a person stops breathing for 10 seconds or more, and snoring is a common symptom of OSA. By definition, OSA is described as a repetitive episodes of complete or a partial upper airway obstruction during sleep. As a result, affected person have unrestful sleep and excessive daytime somnolence or sleepiness. This is what is the definition wise. There are multiple sleep disorders. As we start from here, there is not disorders. This is normally somebody may have a quiet breathing, or there could be a Pickwickian syndrome. In between, there could be multiple sleep disorders are there. The symptoms of obstructive sleep apnea, one of the commonest symptom is snoring, but that doesn't mean that all the persons who have snoring have obstructive sleep apnea. There may be other reasons also. Night-time gasping, morning headaches, daytime fatigue, excessive drowsiness, body ache, difficulty in concentration, forgetfulness, and yes, definitely they are overweight or obese or high blood pressure. In other way, this shows all the symptoms as well as the signs of the persons who have a obstructive sleep apnea. At the same time, these persons are very much have an excessive daytime sleepiness or drowsiness, and they should not drive a car if they have obstructive sleep apnea. What exactly happened? The mechanism why the obstructive sleep apnea by cycle wise, the muscle that keeps airway open in the daytime, they relax at night. The throat is blocked and air does not reach the lung. Oxygen level in the blood fall. An alarm is triggered in the brain that starts to arouse the person from sleep. The muscles in the neck regain their tone and breathing begins again. And without ever fully waking the person, he again slips back into the sleep. This is what a complete cycle of obstructive sleep apnea occurs. It is not a new things which had happened. Even in 1877, which means more than 100, almost 30 years back, a paper in Lancet by a London physician that when person, especially advanced in years, is lying on his back in heavy sleep and snoring loudly, it very commonly happens that every now and then the inspiration fails to overcome the resistance in the pharynx, of which stutter or snoring is the audible sign. And there will be perfect silence through 2, 3 or 4 respiratory periods in which there are ineffectual chest movement. compensatory deep inspiration before breathing settles down to its usual rhythm. In the case to which I allude, there was something more than this. The snoring ceased at regular intervals and the pause was so long as to excite attention and indeed alarm. So, I mean, this paper was published in 1877. So, long back somebody had thought of the symptoms of obstructive sleep apnea. What exactly happened? There are many other causes, but mechanical obstruction is the major reason, and it is one of the reason is important is obesity. The person's body weight more than 25 or purely obese more than 30, short neck or excessive tissue in neck area, aging process, and even some of the young persons it may be because of crowded teeth or narrow plate also. In a 42 million Americans are suffering from obstructive sleep apnea. That is what the data is showing. In India, it is not less. Even we are not so obese. We have overweight many percent, but still the incidence, which is roughly is around 4 to 9% of population, adult population I am talking of, in India fall in this group also. So I mean, it's not uncommon. We have also many of the persons who have. What are the effects of obstructive sleep apnea, particularly on metabolism, because we are talking here related to the diabesity. The obstructive sleep apnea, many issues are there. When important is cardiac problems, high blood pressure. Definitely the persons with obstructive sleep apnea will have more increased insulin resistance and many more issues also. These persons have also higher incidence of stroke developing, at the same time memory problems or inability to think correctly. A report on the prognosis of CV consequence in patient diagnosed with having OSA, they had shown it significantly raised the risk of fatal as well as non-fatal CV events compared to healthy participants. The person who have obstructive sleep apnea, the chances of having more risk of cardiovascular event was there, and this paper was in 2005. If you see the persons with apnea and hypoapnea, the persons who have more than 5, you can see they have more incidence of coronary artery disease as well as congestive heart failure in compared to the persons who doesn't have this apnea and hypoapnea spells in the night time. The mechanism of this obstructive apnea is increasing the sympathetic activation, and because of that multiple factors are important reasons for this, and they increases the endothelial dysfunction, which is the cause for cardiovascular mortality as well as morbidity also. If you see the JNC 7, they had written here the sleep apnea is one of the important identifiable cause of hypertension according to the National Institute of the Health. So NIH, even they are talking in their JNC report that hypertension, one of the identifiable cause for hypertension is obstructive sleep apnea also. If you see the reports of the different several clinical and non-clinical samples, there is a possible links between a sleep apnea and an altered glucose metabolism. I mean, it is diabetes and the link between that, and this study which had shown a total of 14.7% subjects with a apnea and hypoapnea index of more than 15 or more have a diagnosis of diabetes compared to the patients who have less than these apnea and hypoapnea index. If they have less than 5, the incidence of diabetes is hardly 2.8%. Those persons who have this index, it is almost like 15% of them will have diabetes. So obesity itself is a risk factor, and we all know that obesity is also a risk factor for diabetes as well as for metabolic syndrome also. Obesity increases the risk of developing OSA by approximately 10 folds, 4 to 9% in general adult population. Those persons whose BMI is more than 30, it is found almost 20 to 40% of these persons will have obstructive sleep apnea. And the persons whose BMI is very, very high, the morbidly obesity, it will be more than 50%. Rather, in Indian population, I have not seen a person who is with morbidly high BMI. They almost have, everybody have the sleep apnea. In one study, 40% of obese men had sleep apnea. Conversely, the 60 to 70% of the patients with obstructive sleep apnea are also obese. The neck circumference is also a very important or surrogate marker for central obesity, and it is found to have more correlation with the patients of obstructive sleep apnea. For men, it is more than 17 inch. For female, it is more than 16 inch. If their neck circumference is there, they have higher chances that they have obstructive sleep apnea. So it's more direct correlation in compared to even obesity or even central obesity. obesity also. But there is a one more issue. Even a lean person may also have obstructive sleep apnea. So it doesn't mean out of all four, you will find one person in four sleep apnea person may have a lean also. I mean, a lean person may have obstructive sleep apnea. Causes may be different, but I am just telling you, it doesn't mean that one person who is lean and thin, you don't think of obstructive sleep apnea in that. This is like a graph which shows that obstructive sleep apnea is also the reason for increasing the obesity. Obesity is the cause for obstructive sleep apnea, and at the same time, if person is obese or OSA is the cause for decreasing physical activity, exercise performance, energy metabolism, and this will further increase the obesity also. As we know, the obesity is the cause for many more problems, from insulin resistance to diabetes to all other problems also. We know the relation of obesity with direct proportion of increase in incidence of this. It relation more with central obesity, and when diabetes and obesity combined, we call it sometime diabesity also. Increasing hypoxemia during sleep was independently associated with glucose intolerance on the basis of either fasting glucose value or 2-hour glucose value. So even somebody is having obstructive sleep apnea, it itself is a cause or risk increases for that person to develop diabetes or IFG in further time. OSA has been associated with development of insulin resistance. It has been also associated with higher odds of metabolic dysfunction even after adjustment of age, smoking, gender, BMI, waist circumferences, or even self-reported sleep duration also. The OSA is directly correlated with altered glucose metabolism. One of the mechanism of insulin resistance is altered adrenergic function. Direct effect of hypoxemia on insulin and glucose regulation, and release of pro-inflammatory cytokinins that affects metabolism also. Now sometimes with metabolic syndrome along with the obstructive sleep apnea, we call syndrome JAD. This syndrome JAD is consist of all features of metabolic syndrome, which is central obesity, hypertension and insulin resistance are the core, but along with that these patients also have an obstructive sleep apnea, which is cyclic hypoxia, nocturnal sympathetic activation and mechanical load of this. OSA severity is associated with poor glucose control in type 2 diabetic patient. So if somebody is diabetes with OSA, his sugar control will be poor in compared to the persons who is with obstructive sleep apnea or with therapy. There is a difference in the glucose control also. This OSA, because of neuroendocrine dysfunction, it increases the chance of diabetes as well as insulin resistance. The prevalence of OSA in patients with type 2 diabetes, there is a PSG study which suggesting that nearly 17 million of estimated 24 million diabetic people in US will have obstructive sleep apnea. From India also we have experience, and this paper which is published by Dr. Mohan, which had shown the prevalence of sleep abnormalities and their association with metabolic syndrome among Asian Indians, which was a Chennai urban rural epidemiological study, which had shown the snoring was the symptoms with the patients with impaired glucose tolerance and the persons with there is a difference. You can see significant difference with the patients with IGT. The snoring symptoms was more. The daytime sleepiness was more in the patients, and lack of refreshing sleep was also more in the patients with this. And number of sleeping hours was also compared to less in the persons who have the normal glucose tolerance. The OSA detection and treatment. Now what is how to diagnose these patients? First we had talked about the all high risk persons who are already obese, central obesity or neck circumference more, and the symptoms and signs which we had talked. We should have that their patients may have a obstructive sleep apnea, and once they have obstructive sleep apnea, what the treatment? But there is a one simple questionnaire which can be used in our OPD basis in our clinical practice also. This is a Berlin questionnaire where the category 1, 2 and 3 which we have, that do I snore, my snoring, how often do I snore, has my snoring ever bothered other people, and has anybody noticed that I stop breathing during sleep? Now these are the, what happened? Here it is showing. I'm sorry. So there is a sleep apnea detection by a Berlin questionnaire. The other category is where if it is positive, out of all these 5 questions, if anything is positive, you have to put 0.2. The category 2 is the how often do I feel tired or fatigue after I get up from sleep. During my waking time, do I feel tired, fatigued or not up to the par? How I ever nodded off or fallen asleep while driving a vehicle, or how often does this occur? If any of these positive, again, we have to put 2 or more positive points for that. And then category 3, where it had shown that do I have a high blood pressure or not. These are the way by which we can detect also. So these type of leaflets we can put outside in our outdoor patient department, and they can themselves put on this and they can have. There is a one more risk score, is the Afro sleepiness score, where they had put like situation, like where you can get sleep. These are the evaluation by all these things, like sitting and reading, watching TV, sitting inactive in a public place, sitting inactive, lying down or a rest in afternoon, sitting and talking to somebody, sitting quietly after lunch without alcohol, and in a car while stopped for a few minutes, even in a traffic headlight also. So this evaluation we have to talk that when they fall asleep while doing these activity, when they are not doing any activity, if they found they have a sleep chances of slight chance of dozing, the points is 1, moderate chance of dozing is 0.2, and high chance of dozing they have 0.3. And on that basis, if the score is between 11 to 20, I mean these are the persons to whom we should send for the sleep study. Now this is the sleep study, which is a very easy, where patient can be at home also. We send the patients for this, and it is with the apnea link and polysomnography. There are 2 ways by which this apnea link is a very easy and screening procedure. Polysomnography is it requires a bigger sleep lab. It can be done at home also. Detecting obstructive sleep apnea is much easy for this, and it gives the records 2 channel, flow as well as snore, and at the same time it can be also used for oximetry for recording oxygen saturation as well as the pulse. And the results are like this. You have, if simultaneously EKG recording can be done if you are using a full sleep lab, and you can see the airflow, thoracic efforts, abdominal efforts, and saturation of oxygen. And slowly you will find as the persons, there is a gradual decrease in saturation of oxygen, around 4% decrease is there, and then person again wakes up to have. So the measuring severity of this, if the apnea and hypoapnea, this index, if it is less than 5, it is normal. 5 to 15, it is mild apnea. 15 to 30, moderate, and more than 30 is severe. And more than 30, they need immediate treatment by any means. Even if 15 to 30, also if some patient, if we can tell the patient it is better that he can have some treatment, at least weight reduction and other parts has to be done. The approach to treatment, one is the medical treatment, that's a sleep hygiene, weight reduction. Most important is the weight reduction. Positional therapy, one of the best ways in severe it is CPAP. And the surgical therapy, those persons who have the other reasons for sleep apnea, where surgical therapy will also help for these patients. The management, always a weight reduction, which is really very difficult, but to talk about the weight reduction is much easier. So we know it's all about the exercise, yoga and other mechanical therapy. For the patients who have other mechanical problems, the treatment of mechanical obstruction has to be done, but otherwise CPAP is one of the most common way of treating these patients, what we do. The CPAP is a bedside device, gently pushes air via mask, where slight air pressure keeps the airway open and prevents apnea. The most common and widely accepted therapy for the treatment of obstructive sleep apnea. It is safe, effective and non-invasive. It does not require any drug, and it is the first choice of the treatment, and most of the times the success rate is almost 95 to 100%. Compliance is bit issue for some of the patient, but still it can be accepted by many of them, and the long-term acceptance is almost like 65 to 70%. But in Indian patient, the starting of this therapy is very, very difficult. When we talk to the patients about this type of therapy, they feel no, I don't want. So this happens, but once they start on it, they continue for this therapy also. The effect of CPAP, if you see on IGT or the patients who are already diabetic, you will find a significant difference in the patients after putting on CPAP as far as their control of sugar is concerned, their HbA1c decrease is concerned, even the improvement in blood pressure, improvement in tiredness and quality of life. Even it also helps in further to decrease their weight loss, because this will increase their day-to-day activity, and that will help in reduction in blood sugar, improving glycemic control as well as HbA1c. there are data which had shown the patients who are after CPAP therapy, there is a significant decrease in HbA1c also, almost like 0.5 to 1. It lowers the blood pressure, both day as well as night blood pressure, mean blood pressure by 10 millimeter, and risk of coronary heart disease and stroke by 37 and 57% respectively. So there is an idea of recommendation also for obstructive sleep apnea. International Diabetic Federation recommends that type 2 diabetic should be evaluated to determine if OSA is present or not. If that, CPAP is the gold standard therapy. Healthcare providers should be aware of the clinical connection between type 2 diabetes and sleep apnea. The patients with either sleep apnea or diabetes should be evaluated for other conditions. Patients with type 2 diabetes should be assessed for the symptoms of sleep disorder, breathing or obstructive sleep apnea. There should be a low threshold for referral. If we are not able to do the sleep lab or sleep testing, there should be a referral to establish the diagnosis of sleep apnea owing to the established benefits of the therapy. Patients with sleep apnea should be routinely screened for markers of metabolic disturbance and CV risk. I mean, those who doesn't have diabetes, they should be also screened for other problems also. So let us recap that apnea and hypoapnea, which is the cause for deoxygenation, negative intrathoracic pressure, CNS arousal, again reoxygenation, sympathetic excitation. This is what exactly happen in a patient with apnea and hypoapnea. Clinically, these patients may have the presentation with hypertension, heart failure, cardiac arrhythmia, sudden death, CV disease, cerebrovascular disease, and ischemic heart disease also. They have autonomic dysregulation, inflammation, oxidative stress, endothelial dysfunction, metabolic dysregulation, daytime sleepiness, and hypercoagulability. This is the thing. And they are presented with obesity, male gender, advanced age. They may be on drugs, metabolic syndrome, and the patient with smoking also. To summarize, OSA is associated with insulin resistance, glucose intolerance, and risk of diabetes, independent of adiposity also. OSA is highly prevalent, unrecognized comorbidity. Patients along with type 2 diabetes, untreated OSA may worsen glucose control. Robust clinical trials are needed to assess the effects of OSA on treatment of glucose control. Sleep duration and quality of sleep are potentially a modifiable risk factor, therefore might have important clinical implication for prevention and treatment of diabetes and obesity. There is a clear association between OSA, metabolic disorder, diabetes, and CV disease. Higher incidence of adverse events in untreated patients with obstructive sleep apnea. Early detection and treatment helps to eliminate potential risk and reduces morbidity as well as mortality. Our role is very, very crucial. At present, what we are seeing is only a tip of iceberg, but the problem is much more larger. Thank you for not snoring, but we know that everybody snores across the world and even in the parliament too. Thank you. Thank you very much. I welcome you all at Diacon at Ahmedabad, which we are planning from 20th November to 22nd November in 2015. Thank you very much. That is a mechanical obstruction, which I told you already. In some children, they have the narrow palate or bigger adenoids or even a big tonsils and all are there. So they are the obstruction. It's a mechanical obstruction. They need surgery. I mean, the surgery will be the better option for them rather than to giving them a CPAP therapy. Yes, it is mostly in children, but some adult lean also may have because of narrow palate or that all these reasons.
Nice lecture. One tip I would like to be taken from you. How you convince your patients to use
CPAP?
Yeah.
It's really very difficult. We explain the patient also, but now what we had talked with this ResMed as well as this Philips company, that they should give a trial for the patient, because to purchase a machine, it costs almost them between 80,000 to 1.2 lakhs. Different type of CPAP models are there. So what we do is we tell the patient, along with when we do the sleep study, we tell the patients to you take 10 days trial. It's like a free trial. Patient has not to pay anything to the company. To the agent, person who is selling that machine, and then we see that how much you are improved. So the level of tiredness and all these things, and we don't tell that this is a permanent therapy when we are giving you trial. We just try to convince the patient first that you please take. First you see what exactly happens. But patient is not ready to understand why he has to take. But still we had put many persons who are on this Philips machine as well as on ResMed machine, and they are happy. But once they are there, they continue to use it. There is no pharmacotherapy for this. I mean, the person has to reduce the weight reduction. Weight reduction is the key for those who are not interested to have a CPAP. They should be, they should go for a regular physical exercise to increase or decrease their weight. That is the only effective way of treatment of obstructive sleep apnea.